Eugenics has been with us for a very, very long time. At first, it was open. Of course, you had eugenics courts in America, etc., that were dictating that certain children or families, certain, according to the authorities, IQs, etc., disablement, they were to be stopped from having children. And then, of course, Britain, as usual, was massively involved in this. And the Rockefeller families, the Harrimans, the Rothschilds, all these people were involved in this. And then along came Adolf Hitler and the Nazis, which gave a very bad name to the term eugenics. So what did they do after that? They just changed the names from eugenics and hid behind front names like Planned Parenthood, etc. And they've gone on running this eugenics program ever since. And you know, some very, very famous people through the years, including people involved in the Fabian Society, including Julian Huxley, who was the head of the British Eugenics Society, who's the brother of Aldous Huxley, who wrote Brave New World, very accurate book because he knew what the agenda was. And behind the facade of these families and these frontmen, they want to cull the population. Not only that, they want to manipulate the breeding of the population to remove what they perceive as the lower stock. And they did it before openly, tried to, and now they're doing it covertly. And their big kind of final card, if you like, is for a massive cull of the population, which will remove vast numbers of people on this planet. And that's where they're leading. And you know, through their access to mass vaccination programs, they're hoping to bring that about.
I've not come over to tell people what to believe. This world is drowning in people telling others what they should think, what they should believe, what they should and shouldn't do. What I'm presenting today is information.
I realized a long time ago that this family bloodline interbreeding control system of these elite families was not just a human thing. It went beyond that into entities that are anything but human. And it was only with the passage of the years and more research when I started to realize the nature of this reality that we're experiencing that made sense in how this structure is playing out. What the system has done is to keep from us the nature of the reality we're experiencing and the nature of who we are in life itself. And in doing so, it has kept us completely in the dark about what's actually happening around us. The knowledge that's passed across the top levels of the secret society network through these bloodline families, the most important part of that knowledge is the knowledge of reality itself. For instance, we think as we look around here that we're seeing everything that exists within this room. But in fact, we're only seeing a frequency range, a very tiny one, called visible light. Anything outside of that, we can't decode, therefore we can't see. But just like radio stations share the same space without interfering with each other, so other worlds, other dimensions, other realms of reality, if you like, share the same space without interfering with each other. However, just as with radio, if you've got two stations that are very close on the dial, then one will be the dominant one, but another one, you'll get what we call interference from it. It's the same with these various realities that share the same space. It's what mainstream science calls parallel universes. Just outside of the frequency range of visible light, there are entities that are anything but human who have been manipulating this reality, this world, for eons. And because they are working on, operating on a frequency that's different to ours, they have to manipulate our world through conduits. I mean, interfaces. For instance, when you see scientists in a laboratory, they want to work with material that's very dangerous. So the material will be in a big glass tank, and they will be outside the tank, and they'll put on those gloves, and they can work from outside the tank into the tank and do what they have to do. It's very, very similar in theme to what these Illuminati bloodlines have been bred for. They are bred to be the vehicles within visible light, this world that we experience, of these entities. And if you go back and you look at religious beliefs, etc., of the ancients and the accounts of the ancients, these entities, which go under different names, some people call them the serpent race, some people call them demonic. In the Islamic culture, they call them jinns, all different names, but the same entities. The bloodlines are interbreeding incessantly and have been right back to ancient Babylon and Sumer and Egypt, etc., and beyond, because they are holding a certain genetic code which allows the possession, another ancient common theme from as far back as you can track right to today, a genetic code which allows these entities to possess these particular bloodline families within the reality that we experience. And these families are therefore simply vehicles of these demonic entities. You research any of these families, be it the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, Greenspan, Alan Greenspan, any of these people, you will go eventually into black magic, blood-drinking human sacrifice rituals where they make sacrifices to the gods. And these gods are these entities which feed off human energy and feed off human blood too. So people accept, yes, long ago people used to use human sacrifice to the gods, yes, and all the rest of it. And they think, oh no, we're kind of civilized now. Well, some of us are, but these bloodlines are not, and they're just continuing to do today covertly what they were openly doing in the past. And they are interacting with these entities all the time in their rituals. That's why they do all these rituals. That's why they drink the blood. And ultimately, they are possessed by these entities. And this brings about a simple situation. You've got the entities, let's call them demonic entities for want of a word. They're operating just outside of this visible light reality that we experience. They use the bloodline families as their vehicle to manipulate this reality. They take over their mental, what passes for their emotional processes, their physical processes. And what that means is, when these bloodline families go into positions of power, what we're actually doing is seeing these entities go into those positions of power. And so the secret society network is there to manipulate these bloodline families and their agents into the positions that dictate society and the direction it goes and all the rest of it. And because we can only decode their visible light level, we see the human level. We see people under different names called Rockefeller and Rothschild and Bush and Obama and all the rest of it. But if we could see beyond visible light just a little bit, and some people can, you would see overshadowing these people anything but a human entity. And it's these entities that have passed through what we call history, and they have been the cement, the guiding force that has brought this conspiracy through to the present day. Because people have asked me in the past, quite rightly, I understand it, why would someone give their life to this conspiracy, this global takeover, in 1500 or 1650 or 1820, when they knew they were never going to be around to actually see it happen, which is what they're trying to do now, playing the cards they're playing now? The answer to that is they were just vehicles. These entities are the common force passing through history, which has led this conspiracy to where it is today.
And the idea is to so tie up the world that they make everywhere in the world dependent on everywhere else in the world, which means that no one has control over their own destiny. It's all in the hands of other people and situations that they have no control over. That's the idea. People talk about the prison planet. The prison planet is the human mind in prison. That's what it is. But if you keep going, because you want to know the origin of this, then you go out of this reality called visible light. You go out of this into other levels of reality.
If you go to a stage hypnotist show, what do you see? You see stooges on the stage, and then you see the hypnotist, and he goes along and he uses his techniques to implant a belief in reality into the stooges. He might tell them there's an elephant in the audience. He might tell them that the woman next to the person is naked. And when you start to understand how we create reality and decode reality, you can see how simple this is. The brain is decoding reality like a computer decodes information and puts it on the screen. However, if you program the computer to read the information in a certain way, then it will. And in the same way, if you can program the human brain to read information in a certain way, then it will. Example, in a hypnotist stage show, I've seen people being given a potato and being implanted with the belief that it's an apple. Now, when they eat that, normally they would reel back a raw potato, but they don't, because the electrical signals carrying the taste of that potato go to the brain and normally would be decoded as a potato. Because of the implanted belief it's an apple, it decodes that as an apple, and they actually taste an apple. I've seen people in a hypnotist stage show being told that when a certain code is given, they're going to smell something horrible. And he gives the code, and the line of them go, "Oh my God!" This is how it's possible. Now you take that onto the collective level, and you think that when we're watching television, our brainwaves go into the same brainwave state as they do in a hypnotic trance. And what that does is open the mind, open the psyche to programming from, and what do we call those things between the adverts? What do they call them? Programs, television programs. It's television programming. So we think of a hypnotist programming people in a stage show, but the media, not least through television, is constantly programming the human psyche with a sense of itself, a sense of the world, a sense of what's happening in the world, a sense of what to think about people like politicians and Obama, what to think about the way the system works.